Hello and welcome to Hammer's chat on this quite drab Saturday afternoon in London. Can't lie to you, it's quite drab, it's quite dark, quite dingy. Although I have it on good authority, it's been snowing up north, and I'm very angry about this fact because we don't get snow, we just get rain. What an L! What an L! Mad! I'm very angry. But you know what I'm not angry about? Transfer rumours. There's a lot of them going about at the moment. We've got some big forward strikers coming in potentially. We're going to talk about those, talk about their stats, talk about how likely we think those are. I want to know your opinion as well on that. How likely do you think these are? We've got one potentially going out, which is interesting and something I think a lot of West Ham fans would be somewhat pleased to hear about at least. So let's break it all down together. Let's talk about it because now we can kind of start to build up a picture of what we're going to do in January, right? If you didn't see it yesterday, Gio did a video on the channel about Daniel Kretinsky's plan going forward. Daniel obviously wrote an article. Daniel, like I know him personally, my mate Dan, Mr. Kretinsky, wrote an article in was it the Evening Standard? I've already forgotten and should have checked before this video goes. That's how professional I am. I didn't do it. We'll move on. The point is he wrote an article talking about sort of what he plans for West Ham going forward and some of the specifics behind his deal in his investment in the club. But one of the things that's at least relevant for right now, Gio, by the way, did this video about it, breaking it all down. Check it out if you haven't already. Go and have a gander. What's relevant for this video is the fact that he sort of laid down some plans for January, not in deep intrinsic, not in minute detail, but what he did say was that we're not essentially just going to throw money at the issue. We're not just going to get loads of money and just lob it at people, right? Now, you can have your opinions about that. I personally, whatever. I don't think lobbing money is a bad thing. Some people do, but we're not going to do that. So we can start to build up a picture at least and start to decide whether or not we think some of these transfers are realistic or not. And the first one I want to bring you is Arthur Cabral. This one's coming way of Goal Brazil, Goal, the website, their Brazilian edition, who says, and this is direct translating, and I'm going to read the direct translation because to be honest with you, I just quite like direct translation. It's quite funny a lot of the time, isn't it? West Ham looks for Arthur Cabral's exhaustion and enters into dispute with Barcelona. Yeah, now you know it's serious. So if you don't know, Arthur Cabral is a striker for FC Basel. And recently he was linked to Barcelona. He's been on absolute fire this season. And we are now getting linked to him, basically. Again, direct translation. British authorised intermediaries to negotiate hiring Basel striker. There was already a meeting this Friday, 26. So there was a meeting between some people representing West Ham and some people representing Mr. Cabral. Mr. Cabral, Arthur Cabral. I don't think we need to Mr. that guy. We can Mr. whatever. They're saying it happened on Friday. West Ham, from England, increased the list in interested parties in hiring of Cabral, who also arouses Barcelona's interest in the bull market. The British authorised intermediaries to look for the 23-year-old forward to consult his situation in Basel, Switzerland, as determined by Goal. Basically, we've stepped up our interest in this player who has also been linked heavily to Barcelona recently. I say heavily, just linked to Barcelona recently. And this is giving us some sort of idea of how difficult it would be to sign Cabral. Because if there are clubs like Barcelona looking, and I know the first thing we're all going to say is, well, Barcelona aren't the club they used to be. They don't have money, blah, blah, blah. This is a very affordable deal, and Barcelona have been sort of shopping in this market recently. People who are affordable with good track records, not looking for the Galacticos of Real Madrid, for example. So this is actually a fairly realistic target if Barcelona are looking for a striker. I mean, just recently you saw them sign Martin Braithwaite, for example, another former West Ham target. And, you know, we've seen De Jong's there at the moment. There's a bunch of people there at the moment who are like, really? That's why. They have no money. And so if we go on to the money portion of this, the Hammers have already heard of an offer for 15 million euros is needed to get him out of Swiss football in the bull market. And here's where we'll switch into English just to make sense of this. And this English stuff is coming by the way of Hammers News, so thank you very much to them. Cabral has a £17 million release clause, but is actually available for just 12.7 million according to Goal Brazil. I've seen that 12.7 number being thrown around. I've also seen 15 million being thrown around, 14 million being thrown around. But so you can see this is actually an affordable deal. So although Barcelona don't have the financial clout they once had, this is certainly something they would be looking at. But it's also exactly what we should be looking at, because if we go to Transfermarkt and look at some of his stats, specifically goals and assists, In 13 games for Basel this season in the league, he has scored 13 goals and got 4 assists. And if you break that down across all competitions, all competitive fixtures this season, I should say, in 25 competitive fixtures, he has scored 24 goals and 8 assists. This is the kind of caliber of striker we should be looking at to take a risk on, especially that kind of money. That's kind of punt money. It's in our range. It's definitely something I could see us being interested in and something we should be looking at. But like I said, there is definitely going to be interest from people like Barcelona. Clubs who are trying to shop for players who are making their first big move into Europe. Do you know what I mean? Barcelona were looking at, say, people like Coutinho before, Suarez, people who have had a couple of big moves into Europe, right? Not that Basel isn't in Europe or Basel aren't a big club. They're a fairly big club. But I'm talking about at the sort of top 5 leagues, elite level, right? Someone who makes that first step in, punt, if you will, because obviously there's a little bit of danger whenever you buy someone from an outside European top 5 league. There's a risk of how well does that translate. And I think if you're looking for a striker in and around that sort of area, these numbers are pretty flipping outstanding. I mean, 24 goals and 8 assists in 25. You're talking 32 goal assists in goal contributions in 25 games. That's wild. That is wild. I mean, even in Europa Conference League this year, which is what Basel are in, he's got 3 goals in 5 games. That's a really good return. So I don't know anything about him. I don't know about his style. I've never seen him play. Something I definitely want to look into, and it's a very interesting one. The next striker that we've been linked to is Big Jonas Wind. Big Jonas Wind, who's playing in Denmark at the moment. And this is coming by way of Extra Bladet, who is a Danish tabloid, which I've had to Google, as via Sports Witness, so shout out to them. And also the Evening Standards have also reported on it. So let's go with the Evening Standard first, just because it's a very short paragraph in amongst a West Ham preview for West Ham Man City. A striker remains high on the shopping list in January, and Hammers are weighing up a move for 22-year-old Denmark international Jonas Wind from FC Copenhagen, while Moyes remains keen on bringing Jesse Lingard back to the London Stadium from Manchester United following his successful loan last season. And if we were to go over to Sports Witness, who elaborate on the original Extra Bladet, which is what I'm going to say, article. West Ham have been linked with Jonas Wind for around a year, with claims coming again in October about the interest from David Moyes' side. The 22-year-old has scored 10 goals over 25 matches for FC Copenhagen this season, adding 5 assists along the way. He's been playing as an attacking midfielder or further forward and is a full Denmark international. Those claims in October, which said West Ham are closely interested, stated Copenhagen would want at least 20 million euros to allow the player to leave in January. However, the Premier League side may be able to get him for less. When it comes to Wind, Extra Bladet state interested clubs will probably have to go close to Danish kroner, 90 to 100 million. I think DKK is Danish kroner. Is it kroner? Like kroner as opposed to corona. Kroner, I think. I might be wrong. At the higher end, that figure is around £11 million, and that fee makes more sense than the earlier one. So again, we're looking at it and saying, well, here's someone who is affordable, an affordable, decent striker, an affordable, decent forward player. Like they said, he's been playing in a sort of attacking midfield and striker role. If you look at most websites, who again look at stats, I haven't seen FC Copenhagen this season. You're seeing that sort of line of striker, second striker, attacking midfielder. It's kind of the positions he's been playing recently. And would be interesting because, again, as we are all obsessed with, David Moyes does not buy strikers. He gets other players and it just puts them in there. But again, his goal contributions, again, really good. 16 goal contributions in 25 games is nothing to be sniffed at. 6 goals in 15 appearances in the league with 4 assists on top of that. That's a pretty decent return. And in the Europa Conference League, again, 3 goals in 4 games. Another decent return. Another interesting option. And something that seems relatively realistic. I don't know how deep our interest in this player is. The fact that we've been linked to him before always concerns me, always makes me think it's just a recycled link. However, for that kind of price and someone who's getting goals, you can certainly imagine we'd be interested. Also, he's quite tall. That is something I do know about him. He's a big boy, you know what I mean? Which I personally am all for, even if David Moyes might not be, but I think he is. And David Moyes likes the forward. Look, we move on. We move on to someone going out. And this is when this is where I hear a little cheer on the wind from Essex. Andriy Shevchenko wants Andriy Yarmolenko. Bang. The Andres teaming up. Now, I've said this before on this channel. I'll say it again. I'm very excited by the fact that all of the players who were like the world's best when I was a kid are now just out here managing teams. And Andriy Shevchenko has left Ukraine. He was the Ukrainian manager, if you remember, during the Euros. He's now managing Genoa. Do you know what I mean? Stole that joke, didn't I? And he wants Andriy Yarmolenko in the January transfer market. This one's coming via way of Nicolo Sciarra, I can never pronounce Sciarra? I don't know how to pronounce his name. The Italian journalist on Twitter who's done a lot of things. I think he was the first person who broke Anderson, I think, for example. I'm not certain. You'd have to double check that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But relatively, let's say relatively reliable. But there's a little twist in this that I want to talk about after, but I'll read his tweet out. One of Genoa's priorities in January transfers this window is to sign a winger. Shevchenko would like to close for Andriy Yarmolenko. His contract with West Ham expires in June 2022. Opened talks. Now, the twist in this, because there is a scorpion sting in the tail. Italy have very specific rules about signing players who don't have EU passports. Ukraine aren't in EU, so they do not count as an EU passport. And yeah, I don't understand them fully. I've tried. I spent about half hour today. I was sipping my tea, eating a sandwich, trying to figure it out. And I sort of understand it, so I'm gonna break it down in the easiest way possible in a sentence here, but I don't fully understand it. So if I am wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments below. I 100% believe I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong, and I deserve correcting. That goes for everything I say. But essentially, they have rules about sort of registration rules about how many non-EU players you can have, which is a fairly standard thing, right? So I think it's 3 is the number. However, you can only sign 1 a year. So in each season, you can only sign 1 non-EU player, one player with a passport of a non-EU country, right? And I believe that Genoa already have done that. Now, there was some conjecture I saw that was, oh, well, maybe they could sell someone or loan them out and that would free up that space. I'm not certain it would take effect because I think it's 1 a season. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially, if you want to break it down in a way that's understandable for everyone, including my dumbass self, it might not happen because of Serie A rules. But that doesn't mean that Andriy Yarmolenko, that doesn't mean there isn't genuine interest there to some extent, I guess, but it also doesn't mean that Andriy Yarmolenko wouldn't fit well in Italy. That's the final thing I want to say. I like Andriy Yarmolenko, I can't lie to you. I always have. I said this on the watch along the other day. When the ball is at his feet, he is so unbelievably gifted. His close control, his touch, his everything. He's so good. I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch. I know it's maybe a controversial thing because I saw some people just destroying him after the midweek game, but I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch. The only thing I think that doesn't work for him in the Premier League is he just doesn't suit the tactics of David Moyes. I think he could suit another Premier League side, but it would be someone who has the right tactics, similar to Haller, similar to blah, 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 blah. We can go on about it all day, right? But Italy, by and large, I don't think he would even need to fit the tactics. I think not having the lack of pace that he has would make him difficult to work in the Premier League and you'd have to have the right tactics. Italy, that's different. Don't get me wrong, Italy's significantly faster than people think it is. I think most people think of Serie A as what it was 10 years ago, where, man, glacial. It's a lot faster than that now. However, it's still not fast enough to where I don't think Yarmolenko could make it work. Yes, and to be honest with you, if you're a club in Europe, and you'd probably be interested to some extent in Andriy Yarmolenko. Whether or not we sell him, I think we could also just loan him out till the end of his contract, to be honest, because I don't think we're going to get next to anything for him. If it's 5 million plus, then maybe it's worth it in transfer fee. But we've already seen with the likes of Felipe Anderson that we aren't very good at discussing these deals. Hopefully now with Newman and Kretinsky and everything else, that's changes. But if we are going to get less than £5 million for him, we could also just loan him out, just get the wages off the books. That's the important thing here. And we'll see how it goes. How realistic do you think any of those are? There's, of course, a lot of other things, a lot of other rumours swirling around right now. We're seeing a lot about Hlozek again. We're seeing a lot about other players. I think Gonzo did a video on the forum channel about it. Potentially today. I'm not sure. I've seen the thumbnail. I think it might have been today. I can't tell you. I haven't seen the video. But if you do, go check that out. Do you know what I mean? And thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here. Like the video if you haven't already. And yeah, here comes January. Here comes the madness. We're building up, people. We're building up to non-stop transfer rumours. Hope you enjoy. Come on, your eyes. See you later. Bye.